Hey Internet, this is BDZB Comics here. If you're wondering about the name change, there's a video about that you can watch right here. Anyway, I've been playing tons of Breath of the Wild lately, as I'm sure a lot of you have also been doing. And in playing through it, I realized this Link controls way differently than any other Link in any other Zelda game. So I decided, well, why not take this Link's moveset and apply that to Smash Brothers? Not saying that that's ever going to happen, but I thought that this would be a fun little experiment. Now, before we move on, I will say there are major spoilers here, so if you have not done all the Divine Beast quests in Breath of the Wild and beaten Ganon, then maybe don't watch this. And since there are so many different ways to handle Breath of the Wild, since the sword isn't really a requirement, I tried to include as many different weapons as possible. Tried to make sure that all of the main story weapons, I guess you'd call them, the ones that you get after you beat the Divine Beasts, are included. I wanted to make sure that all of the champions are represented in some way. Some of that stuff's gonna be in a custom moves video, which I'll do in a little bit because I didn't want this video to drag on forever. I also wanted to make sure that all of the runes were included, that Link has plenty of moves that play off of one another, so that you can set up complex combos involving multiple of Link's moves, but I still wanted it to be balanced enough so that Breath of the Wild Link wouldn't be the definitive best character. And because there are so many different ways to play Breath of the Wild, you can do things in any order, I wanted to make sure that this Link's moveset could reflect sort of the general player's experience. That's taken into account not only with the moveset itself, but with the costumes as well. Anyway, here it is! So for the entrance animation, you know, it could be anything. It could be Link flying in on the sailcloth, it could be Link riding in on horseback, but I think it was most appropriate that Breath of the Wild Link starts the match the same way he starts the game in Breath of the Wild, waking up from a tub of blue goo. The neutral special. It's the remote bomb. So what you do is you press B, and there will be a bomb that appears in Link's hands, and you adjust the angle of the bomb with the control stick and release the button to throw. The bomb will sit on the ground until B is pressed again, at which point it will explode, and part of the stage will light on fire. Now, this fire can do damage to enemies that are too close. It could be used to light wooden weapons on fire, and that's not just Link's wooden weapons. It can do stuff like light DDD's hammer on fire, which will cause those weapons to do more damage, but it'll also make them burn away so that those characters won't be able to use those moves for a little while. And it can be used to provide an updraft that certain characters can use to float upward, to suspend themselves in the air for longer. So of course, Link himself can use his sailcloth, but Game & Watch can use his parachute, and Peach can use her parasol, and they can all fly upward. Another bomb cannot be thrown on the ground until the fire dissipates, and the remote bomb rune has been recharged. You can't just fill the entire stage with fire. That would be super cheap. Side special is Stasis. A yellow circle appears in front of Link for a few seconds. Anyone or anything caught in that circle will become frozen in time for a few seconds. During this time, Link can hit the affected objects repeatedly, building up potential energy that will be released once stasis ends. This can be used to send projectiles back at the enemy, or to send enemies flying clear off the stage. This might sound pretty cheap, but there is a way around it. The best strategy for avoiding this move is to either get behind Link, because again, this provides a circle in front of Link. So if you go behind him, you can hit him until he'll be knocked out of stasis. Or just wait until the circle goes away, because the stasis rune is gonna need a little bit to recharge. The up special, and this is where things get interesting. Simply pressing up B will trigger the sailcloth, which propels Link upward a little bit, but mostly just serves to slow his descent, and there's a hitbox at the top. It's basically Peach's parasol. But if you hold up B and then release, you'll activate Rivali's Gale, which launches Link way upward with a huge gust of wind. Down special is Cryonis, which creates a large ice block in front of Link, which can be used to shield him from certain attacks. The ice block does not stay on stage for too terribly long, and there are ways to make it go away quicker, setting it on fire. Again, that's not just for Link. If Bowser's using his flame breath, that block gonna melt. Now, there are a couple interesting uses for this ice block. For one, Link, or another character, can get on top of a Cryonis block to give themselves the high ground. Cryonis and other ice and fire-based moves, so like Mario's Flood, or the Ice Climbers, if they shoot their little tiny ice triangle or something, it can help put out fires on the stage. And if Link goes up in the air and he decides to use Cryonis, the ice block will fall down, and if an enemy is directly below the ice block when it's fallen, they're gonna take some damage. Just like the other runes, you'll have to wait to use Cryonis again. Alright, so those are all the special moves. Now on to the basic moves. For Link's A move, he whacks with the first weapon that most players are going to get in the game. And that is, of course, the tree branch. But if you keep pressing A to do the AAA combo, Link's going to use his Bokoblin arm. And then his finisher is he pulls out a spiked Boko bat and just swings. So, side A, he slashes with the Lizzle Tri-Boomerang, which does a fair bit of damage, but only to enemies nearby. And now his side smash, he throws just a regular Lizzle Boomerang, so it does less damage than the Tri-Boomerang, but it has great range. Up A pokes upward with the Farmer's Pitchfork. Up smash, he throws a throwing spear in a downward arc. Down A chops with the Woodcutter's Axe. For the down smash, pulls out the Boulder Breaker, the first of the weapons that you get after beating a Divine Beast that appears in this moveset. So, uses that, slams down, doing tons of damage, sending the enemy flying. Obviously, this move takes a long time to charge up. It's easily punishable. But still, watching someone fly again across the stage, can't beat that. Can't beat that. A move while running. Another one of the Divine Beast weapon thingies. He slashes using the Scimitar of the Seven, which has to be the coolest name for a weapon in this game. Neutral air. I got a little mnemonic device for you to remember. Aerial arrow. Shoots a regular arrow diagonally downward. Holding A before releasing charges the arrow, turning it into an ancient arrow, which does much more damage. Forward air shoots a shock arrow straight forward. When it hits an enemy, they will be stunned for a few seconds. Okay, back air. He throws a boomerang. If you hold the button down before releasing, it'll transform into the Giant's Boomerang, which is slower, but it also does more damage and has a larger hitbox. Now, up air shoots an ice arrow straight up, freezing the foe upon impact and launching them upward. It's great for KOing off the top. And then down air shoots a fire arrow downward. This can be used to set the ground on fire, just like the remote bombs. Now, holding down the attack button will transform the fire arrow into a bomb arrow, which creates an explosion upon impact, which makes the ground even more fiery if it connects with the ground, but if you time it right, it can also be used to propel Link upward. Though it should be noted that bomb arrows, explosions, can affect Link as well, so you gotta be really careful about how you time it because you don't want to blow yourself up.
So that covers it for the aerials, and before I move on to the grab moves, I do want to talk about Link's shield for a second.
And no, I'm not talking about the pot lid or the Hyrule shield or the whatever equipable shields there are in Breath of the Wild, although I do think that he should have a shield and that just like Link, there's a slight chance that an attack will hit the shield and that it won't damage Link. No, I'm just talking about the L and R shield that every character has. Now, Link's L and R shield takes on the appearance of Daruk's protection. It doesn't actually have the effect of Daruk's protection, where if an enemy hits the shield, Daruk will come out and like block their attack. No, it's just a neat little visual thing. But it looks similar enough to the shield in Smash Bros. Already that I figured, why not? Now, for Link's grab, if he's close to the enemy, he'll just reach out his hand and grab them. Nothing special. But if he's far away, he's gonna use Magnesis. This rune summons a beam in front of Link, which can draw in metal enemies and items. Now, certain enemies will be drawn in quicker than others. For instance, Mega Man and Samus, they are covered in metal, so they'll be drawn in super quickly, whereas Cloud, who merely has an enormous sword, will be pulled in slower because, I mean, his body isn't metal, he just has a big metal thing on it. And Marth, whose sword isn't all that big, will be drawn in slower than Cloud. Characters that don't have any metal on them won't be drawn in at all. Link's Pummel. Once he's grabbed you, he'll whack repeatedly with the soup ladle. His forward throw whacks the opponent with the spring-loaded hammer, which does not do very much damage at all, but it will send enemies flying. His back throw is pretty similar. He tosses the opponent and then blows them away with the Korok Leaf, which is great for pushing opponents off the stage. Up throw, he throws the opponent into the air and shoots them with 3 arrows simultaneously with the Great Eagle Bow. See, we're working all of those Divine Beast weapons in there. And speaking of which, down throw, he pogos on top of the light scale trident repeatedly. Side taunt. He eats some dubious food, keels over, and tries not to barf. Up taunt. He gets on top of a pot lid and pretends to surf. Down taunt. He hides inside of a barrel. And on to the final smash. If you have not gotten all the Divine Beasts and done the final battle with Ganon, then this is an enormous spoiler, but here we go. It's called the Champions of Hyrule. Mipha, Urbosa, Daruk, and Revali all fire lasers from their Divine Beasts, followed by Link slashing them with the Master Sword. So on to the victory pose. Link collapses to the ground in exhaustion. Mipha heals him, and he gets back up stronger than ever. Victory pose number 2. Link falls asleep next to Urbosa, who wakes him up with a bolt of lightning. Victory pose number 3. Link gives Daruk a pat on the back. Daruk reciprocates, not knowing his own strength, pushes Link forward. He's like, ah! We're almost done here, but I do want to touch on Link's alternate costume. And these are all based on different armor that the player receives in Breath of the Wild. First, we have the armor that Link wears at the beginning of the game, which is no armor, shirtless, in his boxer shorts. Then we have the Zora armor, which is required for the Mipha quest. Then the Snowquill armor, which is recommended, although not completely required, for the Rito quest. The Gerudo armor, which surprise, surprise, is required for the Gerudo quest. The Flamebreaker armor, which isn't completely required for the Goron quest, but it makes it way easier. The old shirt plus well-worn pants, which players will recognize as the very first actual outfit that Link can wear in Breath of the Wild. And finally, there wasn't really another required armor in the game, but most players, I think, bought the Hylian armor, and it looks very different from any of regular Link's costumes, so I figured I'd go with that. Anyway, I hope that you all enjoyed this moveset video. This is BDZB Comics, signing out.